I've recently spoken about deep frustrations in my life, but I was just thinking about the blessings I've had in my life. And one of my biggest blessings, or two of my bigger blessings, should we say, are my mother and my daughter. I recognize some people maybe have uncomfortable relationships with their parents. Maybe you don't have a good role model. And I thought maybe it's worth sharing a view of a great parent. Um, One I'm very fortunate to be raised by. I've learnt a great deal from. And by extension, like my daughter and the relationship we have. My mum has been my rock throughout my whole life. I can go to her with anything. And I feel very fortunate to have that. My natural father, I haven't seen since I was about 3 or 4 years old. There is no relationship. My stepdad was reliable. You know, he's always working, always bringing the money and support the family. Had a big family, like half sisters, half brother, step brothers, and he was incredible in that. If you ever needed anything, he would always be there for you. He always had high standards to meet as well, though. So he's quite regimented, very serious. You know, he didn't really laugh, whereas my mum does. So my mum's incredibly light, and my stepdad was incredibly strong. But that strength made it very hard to feel comfortable talking about certain things. It's not that he wouldn't have the conversation if you spoke to him, but he just didn't feel naturally inclined to. So I'd always gravitate to my mum if I'm going to talk about anything. Um, as we got older, I think it was easier to talk to him about some things as well. But in childhood, it wasn't really like that at all. It was my mum. Um, I think one of the best things about my mum is that she always believes in me. Um, I mean, I could get quite emotional, and I'm going to not. Most people in my life let me down. A lot of my family members, you know, spiteful behind my back. I'll be spiteful in public. You know, that's the difference. I don't hide nothing. You'll hear everything. I don't care. But my mum will never ever, and I kid you not, she will never ever side with anyone against me. You say a bad thing about me, she will not agree. She won't do it. I've had my ex partner try to navigate around me and try to go to my mum to say he's this and that, and she says no, he ain't. And then she'd put up a load of facts and make the other one look stupid. I've had an auntie um, try to sort of bully me, you know, and I was like, well, I stood my ground, and she didn't like it. And then she said to my mum, this was at a wedding. He's really stubborn. My mum said he's enjoying himself. Just leave him alone. Let him be. He's happy. You know, I'm thinking, yeah, you're the problem. Um, she didn't like it, but my mum never sided with them. I've had my sisters go squabbling to my mum, try and talk crap. And I know full well my mum would never side against. She would never say anything bad. I'm not saying she's picking sides. There's no way she'd nod along against me. And that's the sort of rock that I have behind me. Yeah. I've always been a strong character, and I'm stronger now than I've ever been. You know, so I can deal with loss and heartbreak and all sorts of things. I understand a bigger reason to live. Um, but yeah, it's just I know when her time comes, it won't be easy. Um, but I have been blessed with an incredible daughter, with kindred spirits, and there's something strange between me and her is that we can only hug each other. I don't feel comfortable hugging anyone else. It's like, my mum never hugged me as a child, and it was not, again, the love's there. It's like it almost doesn't have to be said, doesn't have to be displayed. So it just doesn't come natural to me. It's not something that was natural. It wasn't, you know. But my daughter, I was always giving her a hug. You do wow as a hug. It's just it was always built on um, a bond, a connection. So, like for instance, if she gets hurt, she'll always come running to me for the hug to reassure her. If she's got something to celebrate, she'll always come running to me for a hug to celebrate. And it's really nice, but it's natural. It's not put on in any way. And she recently said to me, because she saw me with my mum, um, and she said, "I only hug you too. Like I don't like other people hugging. Like that's what she was saying in general. She doesn't like other people hugging her. It's just me." I thought that's interesting. Um, my mum's helped me a lot. When I'm struggling financially, and sometimes I do struggle deeply, especially I mean, for a long time I've always struggled financially. To be honest, I don't like putting her under stress. I try to cope as far as I can without assistance, and it's not always possible. But I do appreciate the burden it puts on her too, though. So anyone that thinks, "Oh, he just leeches," I'm not leeching anything. I'm not leeching anything. I figured out quite swiftly, really, that I have a big purpose in this life, and I will achieve it. But it's like I said in my book. I got a copy here. Um, a heartbroken daughter. It's blue. It's not coming up there because I've got a filter going. Um, I've got a chapter called Mum, titled Mum, and within this chapter, um, I said she's my wings when I need to fly. Of course, I went far deeper than that. I think the beautiful thing is we don't sort of maybe hug, but she's read every single one of my books. She's always eager for the next one. Like I'm that for my daughter too. So it's like other people on the outside, they're like family members, they're leeches. They don't help with anything. They would just take and they wouldn't even think anything of it. I don't take and think anything of it. I just know she's supporting my breakthrough. And I know the success that's coming. It's like I get fed up in the process, but believe me, I know how successful I'm going to be. And she's the first one I'm blessing. And I specifically said that to her. I said, I'm going to send a large amount of money into your bank account as soon as I get my first deal. Whatever that deal is, I'm going to send you some money, but I don't want you giving it to anyone. Otherwise, I'm not sending it. I said, not one of them, like in my family, not one of them have supported my dream. They haven't done anything. When they see me struggle, they don't even ask. They don't even check in. And they definitely would never ever put a pen and put any money towards it when they see me struggling. I live alone. It's hard. My mum doesn't hesitate. But she knows as well. She knows. I know she knows that I will be successful. I just hope it doesn't come too late. But like I say, is I've told her that you must. It's for you. Whatever I give you will be for you. Um, I think that's the thing. Some people, if they hear you've got a great parent, I mean, I see the stories. Some people get maybe jealous of that, and they think, oh, you've had it easy. I haven't had it easy. I haven't had it easy. It's been quite rough, to be totally honest. Life's been hard. And when you've just got jealous siblings who then accuse you of this and that, it's like, we'll see. You know, if you, it looks bad on paper when you think someone's supporting your dreams and helping you through situations. But if we go back a few years, let's go back maybe 15 years. You know, my daughter was born and I wasn't working at the time. I'd been working warehouse jobs before then, driving forklifts, operating forklifts, all sorts of things. But at this point, I'd got with a partner, someone I'd known from the past. She wasn't in a very good place, like mentally. She wasn't doing well. She wasn't happy, but you know, she was. It's when we reconnected. All of a sudden, pep in her step, I guess. But I wasn't aware of all of her issues before that. So while she was pregnant, she just kept collapsing all the time. You know, we may not be on good terms now, but I loved her. There was a time I had I'd like my brother-in-law was on the phone to me asking me like random questions. I think it was about a computer or something. And my ex-partner's just like collapsed in the kitchen. And he's still trying to ask me questions. I'm like, look, I can't deal with this right now. And he's still talking. I just hang up on the guy. I just thought, this is crazy. People ain't got a clue what I'm dealing with here. Meanwhile, she had a child of her own. And, you know, I'm having to manage all this. You know, I'm having to do the school runs. And you can't, how could you put, look, it's not, this isn't me making an attack on anybody. It's just how on earth can someone who is struggling to compose himself every day, how are they supposed to do school runs? So, of course, I can't afford to have something happen. You can't have someone collapsing while the children are going to school. At this point, it's just her daughter, but I'm having to do the school runs here. That limits your availability. And this is the thing, no one listens. They don't care, you know. They just see money, 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 money. This is the part of society that drives me crazy. It's, you work a full-time job, you just work there, 9 to 5, 8 to 4, 6 to 2, whatever you want to do. You're doing great. You're doing great. You come home, not contribute anything, but you brought some money home. You good people. It's nice to have money, isn't it? It's nice to be able to buy yourself things, I'm sure. Now try doing things selflessly. You don't get paid for it. You don't get paid for it. You just get accused of being lazy. People look at you like you're a waste of space. That's how it was for me. But I'm a strong character. I've always been the way I am all the way through my life. So anyone that sees me now, and you might think, I mean, I'm obviously got a little bit upset there, but if you see my other videos, you see how strong and resilient I am, how intelligent I am, the goals I set. I've always been intelligent. I've always seen beyond the illusion that other people live. I've never conformed to the way society expects us to be. So when people accuse me, I'm always recognizing it's from a really limited mindset. It's unreal that they just got like, the view is like this, and people live with a view like this. It's crazy to me. I'm like, you really are not seeing the big picture, are you? So, of course, in my mind, it's nice to have money. We can have holidays. You can have nice things. You know, bills are not so stressful. Of course, we would love these things. But having a healthy family, for me, is just far more important. So when my daughter was born, it was like, wow, you know, this is like the happiest I could ever be. But when she was initially born, her mother, she had a really hard pregnancy. Like I said, she was collapsing a lot. And then it was when she was due for labor. You know, I've seen the stories when things don't go well. I'm not an idiot. I am fully aware of the dangers, you know. And there's a condition in their family. I'm not going to go into that at all, talk anything of it. But it made them a little bit more of a risk. And the pregnant and the going into labour, it just went on longer than really it should. Crushing the living shit out of my hand, and I still remember to this day. You know, you can't say anything because the pain they're going through is like 100 times more. But it's like, you know, that's freaking hurting. Hair is sweating like crazy. You know, I know some people, they go in and out of labour, it's easy peasy. For her, it was never easy. I would never say she had it easy. I know she didn't. I know she didn't. Um, so we had a hard time. We had to get her off the bed and then get her into like a crouching position, and I had to sit behind her and hold her arms like this so she can push down on my hands to really push. So I was fully involved in all of this, you know. And then our daughter was born. Mm. And as proud as I was, and happy as it makes me, because she's my world. And again, anyone follows my story, you know, but I would not hold her. My mum was the first person to hold her because I needed to make sure her mother was okay. I wouldn't. Mm. So I phoned her mum just to say, like, I don't know if it's going well or not, but I know it was hard. But having to check on her and do stuff. I don't know what's going on. And her mum was just like, it'll be fine. And I thought, I hope so. Um, anyway, it worked out in the end. We had to go back to the hospital again a bit later because it was a little issue, underlying issue that had to get resolved. Um, and then she had postnatal depression. Believe me, I've seen it all. I don't think some people realise how dark it can get, you know? So you've gone from creating this family and you're like really happy. You know, we're going for days out, we're just like chilling, we're just enjoying ourselves. We're going to the park, we're trying to do the best we can, even though we don't have a lot of money. But this is like my heaven, if you like, you know. I don't care about the money. There's bigger things in life than money. I'm happy that we have a healthy family, you know. I just want to be happy and spend time with my daughter. Um, and try to educate her daughter because she was a little bit spoiled at the time. I'm not going to go into anything. There's some things needed teaching, manners, but that postnatal depression, you know, it just got worse because it hadn't been addressed. No one had diagnosed it, so of course her mental health is declining, and I'm not understanding it at all. Um, I'm not going to say any too much because I don't. I'm hoping to God my daughter doesn't watch half this video because this isn't for her. And if she is, I'd ask her to stop. Um, because her mother really struggled. And I think she deserves privacy. I'm not going to go into what was happening, but a lot of what I didn't know at the time, it's only through later on I found out, um, like when the issues really started. So that was a shock to me to hear later, you know. Um, so we're going through all these ups and downs. This is like emotional freaking roller coaster. This is like hell on earth in some ways. You know, you live in part of your dream, but there's another pressure all the time. Always pressure. And everybody's like expecting, when are you going to get a job? When are you getting a job? When are you getting a job? And it's like, mate, I'm trying to keep this family together at the moment. Let's just keep people alive for a bit, yeah? Uh, but no, everyone thinks you're lazy, of course. Um, and then was renting privately, and the homeowner wanted to sell the property because he wanted to be able to sell it. So he wanted to evict us, and I thought like it. We went through court. I delayed it as long as we can. We was had to leave just after New Year, so it made Christmas really uncomfortable. And then we spent 9 months at my mum's home, living behind their sofa because that was the only space they had with the kids, and we had dogs as well. So it's like a freaking nightmare. Like my ex suffered greatly through that. Her mental health was all over the place. I kept saying to her, you should stay with your mum for a bit if it helps your family and stuff. She didn't want to go there at all. And she did have an episode that required her to be sectioned for temporarily because she was becoming a danger to her own self. It was getting alarming. And of course, at that point, I don't know what the hell's going on. I don't know what's triggering all this, But of course, the stress is everywhere. And if you haven't had a postnatal depression addressed, that's a problem. So of course I'm visiting her straight away, and I don't know if I'm the cause of this. I don't know what's going on, I know her family accuse me of being the source without asking anyone anything. They just come up with their conclusions. But I was like, why don't you get your parents to come up and I'll stay home and you can spend some time with them. She said, I don't want them here. I don't want them seeing me here. I want you. So I'm sitting with her in that place. It's not comfortable for me. She was feeling more comfortable than I was. She started to make friends around there, and some of them a bit mental. We're in a mental place here. There's some of them actually crazy as shit. And I'm thinking this is uncomfortable because you don't know how unhinged people are. And she goes, "Oh no, that one's really nice." I'm thinking, yeah, until she's freaking going mental. I don't know how. What I mean? You don't want to judge people, but it's a freaking hell. I don't know how violent these people can get out of flick of a switch. But I never missed a visit. Never missed a visit. I even drove her mum one time. We had a good chat. But before that, they tried taking the kids. Literally, I'm there with their daughter in a place where she's not comfortable, and they sneak round to my parents' home trying to demand the kids. That's what they did, and I was pissed when I got home. Believe me. So I had to go. I sent a message back and said, "What the hell are you doing?" Because you think that was going to happen. If I was there, you definitely wouldn't have been taking them. And a day or so later, I'm taking her mum up there. We made peace. But they're quite like that. They're quite, you can understand maybe a little bit. They're maybe defensive. I think they're too defensive, though. They're too quick to react without thinking, and it's a bit like, ugh. But again, that's really how it's always been. It's this rocky up and down, and it's like really hard to gain any momentum. And then we've got our own home, a flat from the council, so it's more permanent, more stable. There's nuances around it I've discussed in my books. But I just think hopefully it gives some perspective really on the struggles we go through. So money was tight the hot for a long time, and it's like I don't know what I can do. I don't think, unless you're in a situation like that, you never truly understand how mentally exhausting that is. It's easier to go to work. It's easy to go to work, and I don't think unless someone goes through that, they will never understand. Work isn't that hard. Depends on the job you're doing, but work in general is not that hard. And if the job is that hard, go somewhere else and work. But try and work somewhere that is mentally draining. You barely get any rest. You get paid nothing in response. You've got stress because your bills are mounting everywhere. You're struggling for this, struggling for that. And meanwhile, you've obviously got everybody else making you feel like shit, like you're not good enough. But you know what I mean? But it's like good enough for me to go and work in Tesco's. And I'm not saying anything bad about places, but it's okay for me to go and work in Tesco's, not communicate with the family, and then come back as long as they've got money coming in. That's a better version of self. That's messed up. That's messed up. So anyway, yeah, when we've struggled, my mum has helped where she can. And for that, I am always in debt to her. Like, I will always appreciate everything she's done. I've never wanted anything just for the sake of having. It's because we've genuinely needed it. Whereas, like, if I say I have, this is the difference between me and my family. My family are fake as shit. If I say I have no money, I'm saying I have no money. I'm not hiding 50 quid. I'm not hiding a second set of money thinking, oh, I need to keep that because I want to buy this or I need to get that. I've got nothing left. Meanwhile, they've got that to the side, whatever the hell they're hiding. If I say I've got nothing, I've genuinely got nothing. I wouldn't ask for it if I have it. And then, there's been issues since after that. I don't want to keep going too deep into all that. But then 2 years later, all of a sudden, she's taken the kids. She's supposed to stay at the grandparents' home. She's took the kids. And like me and my daughter are literally inseparable. It's only later on I found out other aspects. Like, for instance, my daughter was in tears that she couldn't come home when she realised what was happening. She just wanted to return. And she still beats her up today, you know. Even to this day, she says to me, I shouldn't have gone with them. Just to stay at the grandparents' home. I shouldn't have gone. I said, it doesn't matter. If it wasn't then, it would have happened another day. You know, people want to do something, they do it. Um, but because of all of her issues, the mother, because of all of her issues, it was obvious if you're going to go through court, it's not going to look very good, all these symptoms you have. In terms of being able to care for the children when you was never the sole carer. I was the primary carer. I was the primary parent. I was the one taking them to school. I was the one picking them up from school. I was the one cooking dinner, you know, doing the baths. I'm the one literally doing everything. Not saying her mum don't contribute in bits and pieces. She wasn't the consistent one. And the children knew it. So, of course, if we was to end up in court, you've ripped her away. You've ripped, like, I can't obviously fight for her daughter, but I will fight for mine, or Al. And it stands to reason, though, if we was to go into court and you've got to try and explain why you've relocated them, it's not going to make any sense when it turned out, again, later on, they just met someone else. They met someone else, relocated the other end of the country. But of course, that's not going to look good. And a judge may say that they send them home. So instead of being fair and reasonable and seeing how it all plays out, if you're going to do that, be honourable. They stated all the time, they're not in a relationship. They're not in a relationship. That was a friend. So turned out they were engaged throughout the court proceedings. And the day after court, when the court finished, that person moved in with them. Just a friend. It's laughable, isn't it? So I was chasing around. Like, I was a mess. I was a wreck. I didn't know if I was ever going to see my daughter again, and she's my everything. So imagine that. It was like losing your family in a car crash. I've already had enough trauma dealing with the other shit. It's like, oh, great. You know, everything I've been building, as hard as it was, for nothing. It's like everybody's gone. Now I'm alone in our home. You know how hard that is when you're in your own home. Everybody's gone. You 1 minute you're family, the next minute it's empty and no one's coming back. That's not something anyone could understand unless they've been through it. You know, you wouldn't even be able to comprehend how traumatizing that is. I was a mess, believe me. I was a mess. I had to wear sunglasses. I couldn't be out in public because I didn't know when I was going to cry. I was a shell. I wasn't me now. I was nothing like this. I was broken, like literally shattered into pieces. So I was trying to figure out how the hell I'm going to get communication. I don't even know where they've gone. Where are they? My number had been blocked. And I had to get solicitors, lawyers. And even then, it took us 2 months of probing just to start getting anywhere because we didn't have a clue where to send any documents. No one's answering anything. And in the end, we made contact. And then they hastily had to get a thing. Apparently, they didn't expect me to chase after them, which I thought was weird. Like, how naive. And then they went to a first place, and it's quite obvious by the wording that the first people they went to declined to represent them. Because clearly they had no evidence. And unless they can get legal aid sanctioned, then they won't get any money to fund it. Like, I didn't get any money funded because I wasn't doing an abuse claim. I just wanted the residency of our daughter, you know. But I didn't get legal aid. And then they went to another place and they did represent them. And they said, we've got a client has just joined us pretty much. We need to just get to grips a little bit and then we'll be in touch. I don't know if it's in touch like a month. I can't remember, but they said they'd be in touch once they filed an application or something. I can't remember what they were talking about. But once we heard back, I was being accused of emotional abuse. Now I knew there was an angle. I didn't know exactly what the angle was going to be, but I knew there had to be an angle. There was no way. How can you do all this? How can you do all this and not come up with something? Because you have to validate. You're going to have to validate it somewhere. And I knew it was coming, but I was like, she wouldn't do that. her mum, when before we got the flat, because I've got documents since. At the time, I didn't even know this. Her mum tried to get her to not get a home with me, but get it in her name, do one in her name only. Very conniving and underhanded, considering in the support I was giving the whole way through. And there's her mum trying to plot. They're so vindictive. They're not nice people. Not nice people. I don't like them. I'll say that still today. I don't trust them an inch. So yeah, that was going on. So I knew they were capable of some. Obviously, I didn't know that then, but looking back, so I was accused of. Yeah, I was accused of emotional abuse, which we saw coming. But we knew they wouldn't have anything because I knew it was a load of nonsense anyway. I was even accused of headbutting her. Like, what the are you talking about? So we've had police reports, we've had social reports, all sorts of stuff. Everything come up clean. So it's like, where is your claim coming from? None of this makes sense. There'll be some report somewhere. If something's happened somewhere, you'd have been a report on that. So we're going through court, many ups and downs, doing everything they can. Well, I knew that it was obvious the angle. They were doing everything they can to stop me and my daughter like building a bond again, re-establishing contact. Two reasons, really. One is they did not want my daughter to know what happened. Because obviously they probably, who knows what lies were fed. The other was, it was really important for them to relocate as long as possible without my daughter gaining another foothold back with me. Because the longer they're somewhere, it's a bit harder to get them back away from there. So that's why they were stringing it out all the time. But the trauma she was going through was crazy. It was up and down. So our contact was suspended time and time again. We're having court dates like every 2 weeks, a month, 2 weeks here, 1 month there, another 2 weeks, a week. It was like up and down like a yo-yo. So with that in mind, when you talk about work, what employer would hire you based on that? I can't even tell them when I'm available. My court appearance was up north. It wasn't local because that's where they moved. Made it so hard. So I had to be able to drive. So my mum funded it. She funded the barrister fees. My solicitor saw what we was doing because I'm prepared to give my flat to my ex to bring her home, and I'll live with my parents for a bit. That was what I offered. I was going to offer. I asked my solicitor, "Is that okay, or is that seen as bribery?" I don't know what the rules are with this. They said, "No, if you want to offer that, you can." So I offered it, and then they had a meeting privately, which I didn't know they were doing, because they saw how much I was going to sacrifice for her, and they could see I hadn't done anything wrong. This was literally so unfair. Apparently, it's for the very first time in their history, they decided to represent me for free. We had to pay the court costs and barrister fees, all these things, and of course our travel, the hotel. We didn't expect it to go on this long, but it would cost a fortune, even with the fees covered. I think every court hearing was £1,000. That still had to get paid because of the barrister fees. Then you got the travel, then you got the hotel. It was a lot. I didn't have the money. How can I? You can't pull it out of thin air. This is why this is so injustice. So I'm like traumatized mess. And I never gave up. I attended every court hearing, every visitation I could have with my daughter. I attended. We had time together. I travelled back and forth all the time. So if she was allowed home, I would drive the 250 miles, pick her up, bring her home, and then the same journey back. And mum never committed to anything. Anytime there's a phone call, I'd do a phone call. Anytime there's letters, I'd do a letter. If I could send her gifts, I'd send her gifts. I never missed anything. And we tried to create some normality. We're supposed to do Legoland before her birthday, for her birthday the previous year. So she was taken a couple of days for her birthday, which was cool as shit. And we was due to go Legoland. And because of all this chaos that happened, we never had an opportunity. So the summer the next year, we was finally allowed like a decent time together at home. where I could bring her home. And I thought, I don't want to just sitting around the house. Let's see if I can book a couple of days. We go to a hotel and she can go Legoland. We can finally say, you finally got to go Legoland, you know? So we did that and she absolutely loved it. And then court finished. It was so close, but it was just ridiculous. Literally, her sister, as a Hail Mary, she had a guardian representing her in the end, and the guardian was favouring me because I know she did because the way she was talking to me. And she even asked my daughter if she would like to know what her answer is when she was with me. You wouldn't do that in front of me if you're going to go the opposite way, knowing that's what she wants. It wouldn't make sense. Oh, so court was due maybe a month and a half, 2 months after that conversation. And literally a few weeks, the month before, but I think it was like a few weeks, just a couple of weeks before the court hearing, a letter was submitted to the court. And it was her sister writing a letter saying how much she would miss her. Now, I know the way they speak and stuff, and I was like, that's not them. That's quite obvious, a different family member. And if it's in her handwriting, then she'd have copied whatever they've said. I'm not stupid. But I believe that's what swayed the decision in the end. And even the judge, believe me, the judge, when we was in there, he wasn't having much of it either. He was really challenging this guardian. You could see he wasn't happy. He kept giving funny looks to my ex because the thing she'd accused me of, there was times when she would stop contact, the judge would give me the bad look. And I have to feel guilty for something I haven't even done. I've done everything they asked me to do. I even have to do declarations out loud to the court. You know, I solemnly swear I will return her after this and all this stuff because otherwise, you know, I can go jail. You know, I'm like, yeah, I'll do that. And I'm saying it out, you know. And then to be accused coming back that I didn't adhere to that, why would I risk that? Do I look like a stupid person? Why would I risk doing anything wrong when my goal is to win in the end? I'm not like a short-term goal sort of person here. I don't need to win today. I'll win at the end. All I want is to get her home, you know, so we'll do it the right way. So why would I mess it up? I'm not mental. So, of course, all these stop starts. We get to the final hearing and the judge isn't impressed because we did this one where they had to now prove their accusations. You've accused me of abuse, right? What is this abuse specifically? And that's what the judge wanted before we got to the final one. Didn't have anything. It was all nonsense. It was just hearsay. And I looked and go, what is this? This is nonsense. And I was trying to figure it out. My solicitor said, well, we always knew there was going to be nothing, didn't we? And I thought, oh, yeah, but I still expected more than this. Surely you come up with something. It was ridiculous. It was really poor. And I thought, you've managed to stop me all this time. If they had seen that at the beginning, you would never been able to stop me like you kept stopping me. I gave 50 pages of content, of messages showing the relationship we actually had, where I was a rock, where, you know, we are in that mental place, and she wanted me there. She's literally saying, you're my rock. I'm so lucky to have you. You know, you've been great. You really have. Things like this. And it's multiple times on different days and different periods of the year and things. You know, this is like, I'm not saying this. That's what she's saying. But now you're saying I'm an emotionally abusive person. Where the hell does that make sense? If I'm emotionally abusive, why would you say these things to me? Why would you be saying, you want to get married? You know, and it's like a year before. But it's funny how everything changes when you meet someone and now all of a sudden they're the villain. Now you're the villain of the story. I'm like the Penguin or the Joker now. Well, that's freaking nice. Thank you very much for that. Thank you. I put my life on hold for years. But don't worry. You do you. So I always had my held high with integrity, knowing who I am as a person, and I'm not having anyone say anything bad without fighting against it. So I'll fight to the end. So the judge at the very final hearing is questioning this guardian because my barrister was saying, are you making this decision for the other sister rather than the child involved in this case? I can't remember exactly how they worded it because it was obviously that's what was happening here. It wasn't for my daughter's benefit; it was for her sister's, which is not what this court hearing's about at all. And she said no, and the judge was following up with questions like that as well. You could see he wasn't buying it, but the problem is if they don't do it the right way, it would be a retrial anyway. So what's the in the end, it was just marginal because it come down to this. They said, in their opinion, both the mother and the father are capable of caring and providing for the child. So it's not like I'm inadequate or inferior. So take that notion away. So we're even now. You're saying we both can look after her. Great. Then they said, has the father, in your opinion, has the father ever caused any distress or harm to the child? And she said, no, they have a great relationship. That's what she said. So then it was put to her, has the mother, in your opinion, ever caused distress or harm to the child? And she said, yes, I'd have to say so. When she took her away, it caused her a lot of emotional distress. So, oh, okay. So we're both capable of caring for her. I haven't done anything wrong, and she has. Where is this making sense? Where does any of this? It was quite obvious to me because I managed to do all that travel. Oh, he can do that, and then they can keep all the relationships. This is working out quite well. That's how that obviously started to look. But the judge made a remark at the very end, and he said, "I'm in no doubt of the love, the bond that exists between the father and the child, and he's in no doubt that I made the application solely for her." So he's making it clear that I didn't make an application to be vindictive or controlling. He was confident that I'd done it solely for my daughter's welfare, and that was a really nice thing to him to say. So yeah, I fought fire with fire, but I always told the truth, and I always adhered to the rules. The others, not so much. I'm not going to go into that. Read my books if you're interested in deeper story of that, of course. Um, and then that was like 8 years ago. So within 8 years since then, I've gone on a huge spiritual journey. I've had that. I keep forgetting that when I tell the story. I relocated in 2020, so 2 years after court, or a year and a half after family court. I relocated 100 miles. And I've been here for maybe 4.5 years now, relocated. I've had jobs in and out between that period. So that's been good. But I've also focused on more, I think, a professional position. I've elevated myself with the video content I create. I've been sharing my story. I've shared the trauma, the healing process, how I overcome this, my thought process on a lot of things. Because I think it'll help people. I've been through enough. I can help people through the things I've been through. And I'm strong. So I've tried to balance. This is where it's still been hard. I don't think anyone, again, it's not excuses. It's really hard. I very rarely know my daughter's holiday dates. I don't know anything. I never know what dates I'm going to be allowed to spend time with her. Even today. Before it was worse. Now I still don't know a lot of the time, but it was far worse before. Before I would get told you can have her for a week, and it's like 2 days' notice. And I'm at work. How do you tell an employer that? A lot of times I managed to talk my way around the employer, like my bosses and stuff, and managed to get it because but there was one time where my boss just said, "I can't give you it. I would love to be able to do that, but we need you here." And I think that was the one time where I didn't get to spend time with my daughter. And that pulled at me, that did, because other jobs I would have walked away. And this specific job, I was like, I can't lose the suffering it's going to cause. For us to spend 1 week together, it's going to have a huge effect for the rest of the year. And I had bills coming now, and I was like, I can't afford to risk this right now. And I really wanted to quit on the spot. I was torn. That was the one time when I'm like challenged, and I didn't know what to do. It was like one of those where you just can't win. Something has to go. And the way I rationalized it in my head was, I can't keep letting her mother control me like this. I know she's going to be upset. I know my daughter's going to be upset if we can't spend time together. But it's like, it's not reasonable to give me such little notice. If I would have been told in advance, I could have booked the time off before others got the time off. To give me such little notice wasn't my fault. I could only deal with what I've been given, and I was given a crap opportunity that didn't help anybody. And I had to, on that time, say no. Because unless you stand up to things, people just keep taking the piss. So yeah, I've been in and out of jobs. I've had, the thing is, the books to me are more important. I think long term, like legacy. If you put, I say this to people I work with sometimes because they couldn't understand it. They're like, well, how are you going to cope? And I'll cope. They don't realize I could. You could. This is the way I see it. Is I want to do a book a year at least. And if a job is in the way of the book, now sometimes you can do both, but sometimes you can't. So if I have to sacrifice for the book, I will. And I've done it plenty of times. And I'd say to them, you could be in this job for the next 5 years. And I said, I can leave and do a book in 3 or 4 months, whatever, how long, whatever. And then I can get another job anyway. So it's not like you can't never get another job. You just jump into another job. It's fine. It's just a job. These are not like the hardest. There's not like complicated jobs to get. It's warehouse. And I said, in 5 years' time, you could still be doing the same thing. In 5 years' time, I could come back. I said, but either way, we're probably going to be in similar positions if I return. And I've got 5 books by then. I mean, I'm going to remember the 5 books for the rest of my life. I'm not sure when you're older, you're really going to give a shit about this job you don't want to leave now. It's a bit pointless. It's not that deep. So I do make decisions that I think others are terrified of. But if you have a broader perspective and look further into the future, it's like, what life do you want, and build towards it. If you keep being scared of like, this is going to be too hard, I fought far harder things than losing a job. That's nothing to me. And this is the thing with people. If they see my journey, for instance, if they see me talking, you might think, like, what does he know? Then people hear the story and you think, how can he be so strong? It's like, well, I am. So a lot of time when you go through a lot of hardships in your life, a little challenge to you, it's just a challenge. It's fine. It's not much. I can figure that out. For instance, if you've got a debt, you can just talk to people, set up a payment plan. If you're struggling that month, or there's a reason you missed it, you can just wait a month and then talk to them, and then they usually defer the payment anyway. So like, a month isn't that bad. You just defer the payment to the end of the next month and things. It's workable. But some people are just terrified of any struggle, So to me, it's not that big a deal, and to other people, it's the worst nightmare. But that's because they're not comfortable with it. But I think actually, I talk about this a lot. Like, some of our biggest lessons are going to come, obviously, during our biggest challenges. So although we want people to fix everything, sometimes it's really important that we go through things so we can learn for ourselves. That's important. But you can go 2 ways when you go through trauma and you go through challenges. You can either go negative, where you feel sorry for yourself, life loses meaning, and you get really depressed, and even further than that, or you use it as a transition, use it as a learning resource, to build knowledge. And if you realize that, you can actually adjust to any situation in life, recognizing, oh, there's something I can learn from this. That's not too bad. Literally, everything's learning. You're evolving. So you can either evolve or fall apart. And I don't see the point of falling apart. It's literally as simple as a mindset shift, focus, perspective, and things. But yeah, to get back on point, which I probably lost a long time ago, is my mum's been my rock throughout the whole thing, even up to today. She helps me where I have deficiencies financially. But I was going to pull cards on this video. I've not got time now. I'm not going to bother. But I've asked so many times, and it's always come out like that. Because I believe I'm spiritual. So I know we all have soul contracts. We all have a path in this world. What we're coming to do, our contribution to the planet, the evolution of our soul. We literally all have a unique path. So I asked, is part of my mum's soul contract to support me so I can fulfill mine? And it was yes. And I think I had the angel wings. I think it was temperance. And there was one with money. And I was like, I knew it. She literally, we all have, like I said, we all got a soul code. So my contract's quite big. It's going to help a lot of people. To do that, I'm going to have to go through a lot of things. But I'm also going to need some support along the way. Now, most people are not going to believe in me. Most people are going to misjudge and mistreat me. There'll be some people you can trust for the whole life. They're pure. And for me, that is my mum. And that's what was given. So that means, but like before we come here, we all agree certain things. She would have had, in spirit, she would have agreed these things. Yes, before, this is how it'll go, and I'll support him on the other side. So we literally, it's a team. He's going to achieve this thing. We need him to go and achieve this. He's going to go through and everything. He's going to go through a lot. A lot of things that destroy people. And he's going to overcome it, but he's going to need some support along the way here. And there's a beautiful spirit that my mum is. She would have said, I'll help. And she is unflinching. And sort of now with my daughter, I understand it 100%. And that's why I say my siblings won't, because they're just greedy. I'm not going to talk about them much because I don't like them. But my daughter is a beautiful spirit too. Incredible. And the way my mum is with me is exactly how I am with her. Even if I don't have a lot, and she says she wants something, I'll figure out what it is to a point. And even if I sometimes do that. Sometimes I'll give her like, she wants something. She's not spoiled. She's not spoiled at all. And she would never, if she thinks it'll leave me with nothing, she wouldn't even want it. Which makes you want her to give it. So there's many times where I've sent her pocket money or something. Like, sent her some money and I'm like, yeah, I've sent it. It's like £10. It might be £15. And in my bank, I got like £1.50 left or 30 pence or something. And I'm like, it's you have it. It's fine. So I just do the same. I always do the same thing to her, so I get it. Like I say, my siblings will say I'm a leech and he's greedy and all these whatever they want to do to validate something. They haven't even been through half of what I've been through in my lifetime, and I doubt they will ever experience half of what I've been through. They'll pretend they have, but they wouldn't. I know their character, and they wouldn't go to the end of the earth for their children like I do. They'll pretend they do, and I don't like to compete like that. I don't like to say things like that. There's been a few instances already in the family where people haven't bothered, because most people don't. And that's what my ex's family thought with me. Don't worry about it. My ex would have said to her mum, because I know it's all, if we're going to be honest, this was all orchestrated by her mum. I'm not a stupid person. And she would have said to her mum, he won't give up on her. Like our daughter, he won't give up on her. There's no way he will. And her mum would have said, don't be naive. All men do. I know it. And if she ever sees this video, she'll know I'm right as well. I'm not every man. I'm a different breed. And I'm like, I'll bash the door down. There was no way on earth, even in this lifetime, I was ever going on to the next stage of my life journey without my daughter by my side. No way was I giving up on her. So no, that was quite crucial. So yeah, I didn't give up on her. And our relationship is still beautiful today. I'm immensely proud of her. And she will never get judgment from me. I don't judge her. I would never judge her based on her financial status, her education, anything. As long as I know she's doing what makes her happy and she's not just trying to copy someone else and she's literally doing it for herself and it's fulfilling. Do whatever you want with your life. It's your life to live and your experience to have. You won't get pressure from me. I'm not asking her to mirror me. I'm not asking her to be anything other than herself. And that's enough for me. As long as I know she's happy with herself, that's fine. And again, if you look at the life I've had, I've used everything as a teaching tool. I've learned from every situation, from the way every single person's treated me, how I felt in that situation, and whether it was necessary. And I don't feel the pressure on me to be the resource person, the person who just has money. I don't see how that would have been beneficial in any of the circumstances. Yes, it would have been nice when we were struggling for money, but if I remove myself from the household to earn the money, it falls apart. It's an absolute crisis. It's not, you can't do all of it. It's just impossible. In the circumstance I was in, sometimes I was laying on the bed with chest pain. But when we was together as a family, sometimes I'd have to go in the bedroom and lay on the bed with chest pain. I was absolutely burnt out, mentally and physically exhausted. I was constantly having to check on her mother. And she'd just keep going missing randomly. She'd be in the kitchen, she'd be down in the garden. The garden was within a flat, so you had to go out the house, all the way around the back, and then you go in the garden. And she'd just be randomly doing shit. You just think, you don't know if she's going to do something to herself, And sometimes she's trying to go out in the middle of the night. saying she's going down to the train station to go on the train tracks and shit. You're like, this is outrageous. Like, what is this shit? You know, I'm not trained for this. And when you're dealing with like life and death situations, it's really, you don't have time to play. There's been times when she's just standing there holding a knife in the kitchen. There's times when she lock herself in the bathroom with shit. I'm not going to say that stuff, but these are frightening things. I'm literally standing there with someone with a knife, tense as shit, and it's just you and them in the kitchen. That's frightening as shit. First of all, you think about yourself, but then you're also thinking about them. You think, I don't know, one fucking wrong move here. That's scary. So I know what she's capable of when she's in a dark space. I don't say anything for sympathy. I just want people to realise that, you know, as heavy as life gets, there are beautiful people in this world too. It's rare, but they exist. And in my life, majority of people have been disappointing. Very disappointing. But there's been some absolute gems. And I could pick 3 names, but 2 are obviously my closest. But one is incredible too, though. But they're just misunderstood, and they still got to figure life out a little bit. So one is my daughter, of course, and my mum, the 2. But my nephew David James, he's often misunderstood by the rest of the family. It's just got some growing to do and things, but he'll be fine. But he's got a kind heart. You know, he's always reliable. He's always like, if you need him, he'll come and help. He'll come, you know, he won't make you do things on your own. He's good. I think he's like 25 now, 24. I don't know how old he is, 24. Who knows? Everybody keeps aging and we forget they're aging, you know, so you always think they're 21. But those 3 names are the 3 people I can trust in this world and I can rely upon. Everybody else, not so much. So like I say, when I'm doing well for myself and I can bless my mum, it would be to bless my mum. It's not to give to the others. They don't deserve it. I've always said that. I will help strangers before I help them. And that's actually not a bad thing either, because I want to help. But if I'm ever financially well, doing well for myself, like wealthy, I do tend to help people because I know the suffering people go through, you know. I know how hard it gets. There's a lot of change that needs to happen in this world. And we can only get change by talking about it. Anyway, it's far more emotional than I planned it to be. I've spoke far too deep about things. I think I went off track talking too personal. When really I was just supposed to be talking about how wonderful my mum is. But like, she's been there the whole way through all of it. By my side when I'm meeting the solicitors for the first time. When I'm breaking down crying in front of her. She's holding out my daughter for the first time. Before either of her parents managed to hold her. When people try and say bad things about me to her and try and convince her I'm this and that, she won't have it. She won't have it because she knows who I am. You can't convince someone of the truth, you know. If it's true, it's true, isn't it? You want to try and play a manipulation game, it's not going to work. I think to have that level of loyalty in this life is quite rare. But then like I say, I recognise that because I'd be the same with my daughter. I know her character. You know, I'm not saying she's perfect, but I know her character. She wouldn't lie. She's not a lying person. Hate that when people have to get punished. Let's say someone lies all the time and you feel like you're attacking that person all the time. So sometimes you tell the innocent one off as well. So the others don't feel like they've been attacked all the time. I never understood that, because if that one's the one that's lying all the time and this one doesn't do anything, it never lies. Doesn't mean they don't do things wrong, but they'll always own up to it. Then why would you tell them off for lying if they never lie? You know, I don't do that manipulating shit. She doesn't lie. It's as simple as that. Because she knows with me, I'll be really disappointed with that. If you do something wrong, but you own up to it, you have my respect and I'll listen to you. If I can't trust you, we can't talk about things, can we? Because how do I know what's true and what's not if you're just going to lie all the time? And she knows that. She does. So she has a moral compass, I think, that's superior to most people. So, yeah, I think relationships can be incredible when the bond's great. But there's a lot of people where I think we put our time and energy in the wrong direction with the wrong people who don't deserve our time and attention. And that's why I say when I set boundaries and been selective, my circle's got as small as that, my mum and my daughter. Yeah, pretty much. I'm fine with that.